And we are live. Hi, my name is Tyree Simon.
Elijah Jones.
This is episode 31 here at MMA Renegade, here to recap UFC Fight Island 4. Elijah, sir, how are you doing this Sunday?
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, I put my headphones in here.
Yep.
I cannot complain, Tyrese. I'm doing fine. Good rest.
Mm.
I was had a game night the other night, and this weekend I've just been de-stressing, sleeping, catching up on a lot of the sleep. So I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good, healthy, not sick, which is
That's
which
the
is
first and
good.
foremost. Good.
I've been battling being sick off and on for past couple of weeks, so I'm finally just good working out, so that's helping out a little bit.
Let's
I
stop
got
this man before he makes 205.
I gotta tell you, man, I did not watch the fights live. Like I had to go back and watch them retroactively. I was pretty much just catching up on. I think I told you it's The Wire.
Yeah,
Or
phenomenal series to begin
I've
with.
never watched it before, so this is my first time watching it. I got to season three. I'm now on season four, so hopefully I'm not gonna watch football today. I'm just gonna watch The Wire and just catch up on some
Dude.
work.
Dude, I didn't know you didn't. When you called me and told me that, I thought you had seen it at least before. But The Wire is actually one of the better TV shows of all time. If I'm being honest
Never
with you,
seen it.
from
Never seen it.
HBO. Are you liking it? Is what basically.
Um, uh, Here's the thing, right? The Wire, I know why it's gotten the acclaim. I guess
Uh-huh.
if I would have watched it live, I probably would have got more hyped about it. So far, season one, season two, I liked. Season three, to me, kind of there was some questionable things going on. It kind of dragged a little bit. Now I'm on season four. Hopefully, it ends off strong.
I think overall, when it's said and done, I think it gained. I think it was big when it first came out because it came out when I was maybe when I was really young. But I think when it's all said and done, and you see the moving parts and the parts and how it comes full circle in the end, I think you'll be impressed with the way at which the story brought you from point A to point B when it comes to the end. I think honestly, The Wire has gained even more success even way after its release. If I'm being honest with you, most people, most adults, sorry, will tell you they know The Wire only because I remember like when I came out, like kids weren't allowed to watch that. It's also really wild if we're being honest with you.
Yeah, there are some like crazy things. It's interesting to go back and look at the early 2000s. Just look at how like people were dressing like the football jerseys or the basketball jerseys that were like
Down to your
down
knees.
to your knees and shit like that.
Yeah,
And it just in 2020, it just looks wild to me. But what can you do?
true.
Yeah. I'm putting the light on a little bit in the background. I can't see you, man.
Me, what happening is I'm gonna try to switch something. Let's see if give me a moment.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I'll talk here. Yeah, so I've never seen The Wire. I'm interested to see season four. I definitely, I also want to see The Sopranos for the first time. I've never seen The Sopranos or watched The Sopranos before, so I think that'll be interesting next. On HBO Max. This is not a sponsor or anything like that, but HBO Max does have a lot of good quality content, which I am thoroughly enjoying. But I did not see UFC Fight Island 4 live. You got to there, Elijah?
Hold on.
No, take time. Yeah, I did not see UFC Fight Island 4 live. I did catch the Holly Holm fight. I did catch that fight, and then I watched everything retroactively. So I'm coming today, recapping this with a fresh mind, looking at this. And we're going to definitely talk about Holly Holmes. Of course, she won her fight against Irene Aldana, which I pretty much I had Holly Holm winning that fight to begin with, but it was really good to see her performance. And then there's some other performances on the card that were really really interesting as well, and could see future fights spawn off of this. Hey man, look at you!
Here we are.
There you go.
Here we are.
There you go. I like it.
Yo. Yes. I heard you mentioning you really didn't really watch the entire card live, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I was out also last night, but I watched a majority of the fights. I want to say there's a few fights I didn't watch, but for the most part, I think I've seen most of the fights. But last night, I'll let you guys know, Holly Holm was scheduled to fight Irene Aldana and
Mhm.
what would be UFC Fight Island 4 on ESPN 16. Now, what we know is that UFC has been having these phenomenal shows on Fight Island, trying to build up their talent, trying to make sure that they can get great fights, and a lot of their overseas fighters being able to. Last night, Holly Holm beat Irina Aldana to a unanimous decision for the fans to watch. For most of the fight, you had Holly Holm winning, correct?
Yeah, I had Allen winning.
I mean, I think that fight, when it comes down to it, I'm sorry if we can jump right into it. I think when
Yeah.
that fight came down to it, I believe the experience of Holly Holm set the tone of the fight. In my opinion, I think that with Holly Holm being such a great striker, being such with the footwork, being such a grappler, I think alone being able to showcase that last night just showed the gap in the level between the up and coming challengers for the 135 pound belt, and then the people who are top 5 within that division.
Yep.
It's just such a big difference in experience. One, the striking of Holly Holm looked on, and the second thing was the grappling and the dominant positions that Holly Holm was able to engage in with Irene Aldana. It really made Irene Aldana really. I don't want to say second guess herself, but she really get
Second guess
off.
yourself.
Yeah, she really couldn't get off the offense that we know she's used to. Like, she makes really good adjustments in the fight, but the issue wasn't able to make those adjustments against Holly Holm, and that's what ended up with her dominant loss against Holly Holm.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it right on the head. I think Holly Holm's offense frustrated Irina Aldana heavily.
Heavily.
Irina Aldana had not that she had a game plan, but she had a hard time trying to cut off the octagon, trying to get to land the shots that she wants to against Holly Holm. You know, this fight reminds me and hopefully reminds everybody that Holly Holm is still a legend. She's still somebody that is to be reckoned with in the UFC and in this division. Probably will go down as one of the best female fighters in the UFC.
Honestly,
To ever go in the UFC.
I agree. I 100% agree. At 135, we know because she did help. She was someone who held the belt and fought the greatest of the great when it comes down to Miesha Tate, Holly Holm. Miesha Tate, Ronda Rousey.
Yep.
She's fought Amanda Nunes. She's fought at the time when Bethe Correia was at the top, was one of the people at the top. She fought Bethe Correia. So she's fought these top contenders. You know that last night proved that there's a reason as to why she's still at the top of the game in terms of the women's bantamweight picture scene, right? We saw it with the body kicks, with the side kicks, the lateral movement, the boxing, the flurries. Not only did it seem like Holly Holm had that steam from round 1 to round 5, in my opinion. It didn't seem she did slow down. That was because, you know, as a fight naturally occurs, fighters are going to get tired. But for the most part, it seemed like Holly Holm was on last night.
Yep.
She really was on, and one of the bigger things they credited her with for this fight was that she, her father. I don't know if you saw the vignette before the fight, or you know when you rewatched it. The vignette was that her father had suffered a stroke right before the Amanda Nunes fight.
Really?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, let me go back and double check, because the fight was what happened. What they were saying was that Holly Holm's father, you know, not to discredit Amanda Nunes, Holly Holm showed up to fight. Holly Holm said she was ready. She lost admirably to Amanda Nunes, but there was apparently that fight was slated to take place. Sorry. Oh, never mind. Sorry, she said that happened in January. I believe that was around the time it happened in January, and there was no fight book, so there's nothing I can link that to. But in general, that was right before the fight. They had talked about her father being sick and then coming back and being fine, and that Holly Holm was in the right mindset. So, all in all, congrats to Holly. I think Holly proved she's in my opinion, one of the top 2 fighters within that division.
I agree, and that's interesting that you brought that up, because you know that news happening with her father, which is unfortunate. You know that I've never heard that story before, or that had happened. So that news has been kind of kept under the radar.
Yeah, I believe he had suffered a stroke, and that was one of the bigger. Yeah, I think it was one of the issues. So they had brought that up. I was looking at MMA fighting. I was trying to find the article. It happened weeks before UFC 246. And at UFC 246, I believe Holly Holm ended up fighting.
Payton.
Yep. They had
Pennington,
Frank
yeah.
Pennington. So
Wow, I did not know that.
yeah. I mean, while I was watching the fights live, I thought that was something interesting they actually brought up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because that was also a really good fight. Raquel Pennington is a tough contender in the 135-pounder division. Fought for the belt,
Hmm.
was unsuccessful, but has been someone who's been someone who you have to get past in this division, and a lot of people don't get past her. So but
No.
yeah,
No.
all in all, Holly Holm, they had played that vignette before they went to fight, and it was actually interesting to see. Holly Holm was actually the shorter fighter, but it seemed she was the more built, right? And just
Yeah.
physique alone, it seemed as if Holly Holm was, her frame was a little bit wider, but not muscular, but muscular, and her smart angle cutting and playing that she usually likes to play that kind of game where she's almost standing straight up and until she really sets her feet in, but she stays light on the feet, and that's what's
Right.
always worked for her. And I think that was Irina Aldana's biggest issue in this fight was how the amount of footwork that Holly Holm goes into when she fights is just positioning is actually key, and she showed that last night.
Yeah, and to the viewer watching, thank you for watching. This is our show, MMA Renegade. We talk MMA and other things as well. If you like what you see, comment in the live chat.
Please do.
But yeah, like the thing for me with Holly Holm, I was looking for the head kick, but it was more boxing based. And that's what
Boxing, yeah.
a lot more, a lot more boxing based, and every time Maria Aldana would try to go on the inside, she would use that push kick, the side push kick, to keep her away. That did some damage as well to Maria Aldana. Maria Aldana it was just frustrating it must be very frustrating to be able to try to go on the inside. Hollywood would have an answer for almost everything you do, and she was also aggressive too. I think she hit her late in the fight in 5th round with a head kick that hurt the eye, and then she was trying to go for a finish. Look, I like this version of Holly Holm.
I think when I'll never say this because I want to say when Holly Holm is on, she's the best, right? That statement alone, it just stands. Like there's no if and or buts. When she's on, she's on. When she has an off night, she's still pretty good. The only people she's ever really lost to within this division, if we're looking at it, that is Amanda Nunes, Germaine de Randamie for the 145-pound belt.
That's questionable though.
Also questionable because that one could say towards the end when I think Holly ended up dropping her at some point in that fight. And Valentina Shevchenko and Miesha Tate. All people who've either fought for the belt or former champions, right?
Yep.
And so, like the statement still stands, when Holly Holm's on, she's a problem. She's a problem for a lot of people in this division. At 5'8", which is a good height for her, she not only is able to use her lengthy kicks and range to kind of control the distance, but when you get in, you have to worry about the slick boxing and the combinations that can end with the head. I mean, she's still lethal. Shorty got hands. Shorty got hands, and I think a lot of people are starting to remember that.
And she's also Mexican grappling too, which is something that she's continued to evolve in her game. Where like she clinches up now. She'll try to go for a takedown now. There's things that she'll do that she wasn't doing maybe a year or two ago. Now that now she's trying to incorporate different parts of her game.
What's always impressed me about her was that she likes to utilize the body lock. She likes to use that body lock to get you down, to muscle you down. And that does take a lot of, it takes a lot of power on her part. But when she's able to get you down, she's able to control you phenomenally. That's a big thing about this, about her game plan. When she can control you, she controls you really well. And she doesn't let you, she lets you try to get to guard. She lets you get this other thing, but she's looking to score points while she's on the ground. And that's the more impressive part about her wrestling game, which has always been good. And she's always utilized the body lock, but it looks like against opponents like Irina Aldana, who are guessing what she's trying to do, throwing that wrestling in there gives her the break to go, I'm going to slow down for a little bit. I don't need to use my striking for a full 25 minutes. I can use this, beat her down, and then go back to striking. Going back between those two, even when you're having troubles mixing up, trouble trying to figure out the hands and the kicks alone is a really big problem for a lot of people in that division.
No, yeah, and it begs the question. What's it for Reina Aldana? Reina Aldana was somebody that, she knocked out Ketlen Vieira, but that was, it was a good knockout, but Ketlen Vieira was winning the fight before that. She was supposed to be the new fresh meat.
She found a hole in Ketlen Vieira's she found a hole in Ketlen Vieira's game plan that night, and she was able to knock Ketlen Vieira out with a left hook because Ketlen Vieira left her hands down. But you're right. It's a good question. It's a good question for Irene Aldana because she was the next touted person to challenge Amanda
Yep.
Nunes, but I think she needs
Yep.
just a little bit more experience. I think she's got the striking, she's got the grappling when it comes in. I think she's got the jiu-jitsu as well in wrestling, but I just think she needs a little more experience.
So let me ask you this: we're going to talk about Joanna Mary's performance now, but that's the fight for me to Holly Holm, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're not going to give Holly Holm the title shot, right, because you just beat the person who was slated to be the next person that you moved up in the rankings, give Holly Holm Duran de Randamie. I think that only is an extra striking fest, but I think what's going to happen is it's the tangibles, right? When we look at it's going to be a much more interesting matchup because you have someone who's known for Dutch style like striking or like impressive striking versus someone who has really phenomenal striking in other parts of their game. So that's a phenomenal matchup. That's a great way to get that W back on the road back to the belt. And if I'm being honest with you, I think Holly Holm, if she doesn't get a title shot right now after fighting Germaine de Randamie, she should. If she wins, of course. There's no one else to fight.
I agree. And the thing about, both those two fighters, we'll talk about Joanna Mary's now, slide to her. Both of them in this fight showed evolution in their game to where, they're not just relying on their past experiences being a kickboxer or a boxer. Now they're using every aspect of MMA, working on takedowns, working on, clinch work and stuff like that. That fight is a lot different than what it was 2 years ago, right?
Yep.
2 years ago, 3 years ago?
That fight took place 3 years ago. Well, it'll be 4 years ago in February.
Yeah. So 4 years ago, just how much of a difference they both are now. They have evolved in MMA. And also speaking on that fight, that fight had a lot of controversy where Joanna de Randamie knocked down Holly Holm twice after the bell. The eye pokes, I believe, as well. So there was a lot of questionable things that happened in that fight that it makes sense to run it back and get a definitive winner.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, de Randamie, she was someone who was able to come into the UFC, break the UFC with strength and win very big. Now she hasn't had a million fights in UFC, right? But she's had a good amount. She's had a really good amount to join for the belt. Now, when you look at Holly Holm's game, this is clearly the only fight to make, in my opinion. There's no one else that you can give Holly Holm, and there's no one else you can give Joanna de Randamie. Because these two, if anyone else in the division, there's no one else who has and no one else has the experience in fighting. And to be honest with you, there's no one else to challenge 135. Anyone else is ready. Anyone else would just be eaten up. Those women are capable of. I think, like you said, this is the fight to make. This is at the actual weight that these women are competing in, not just the 145 belt. I think this is a very, very, very intriguing fight, and I think if done properly, Holly Holm can get her hand raised.
And there's also a case to make that Joanna de Randamie, if they fight again, that Joanna de Randamie can beat Holly Holm decisively this time. In her fight against Juliana Pena, she looked. There was so many. I think the argument can be made that she had a more impressive performance than Holly Holm did, and the aspect of that. You just from where she was before to now, she just seems different. She seems like she's using every other. I would never think she would go for a blonde flute choke before.
I'll say her evolution. I can say I agree with the fact that she's evolved, right? Mm-hmm. But when we look at the fight last night, of course, everyone who saw the fight, Joanna de Randamie beat Juliana Pena by submission guillotine choke.
Guillotine, one arm, right?
I will say, I believe so. Yep. I believe what was impressive. I think it was maybe two. I think because it was really close to the fence. That was the issue, so I couldn't see. I had to go back and double check. But the best thing about this game was that we never before this fight we never showcased we never saw Jermaine Durandame showcase her wrestling or jiu-jitsu ability. We were never in a chance where she had to, right? We know Jermaine Durandame is someone who's a phenomenal striker, is known in the kickboxing world. She either uses KOs or she's pretty dominant. Now, with that being said, her having the submission on her record shows that she's obviously evolved in her game. But I think if we're looking, I think the slight edge maybe to Holly Holm. Like you said, it's justified that you can argue who had her opponent for 5 rounds. So I want to see, hopefully, Jermaine Durandame, obviously her next fight is going to be 5 rounds, but I want to see her getting more 5-round bouts. But then again, there's just also a lack of competition at the top for 135. So that's a different conversation for another day. But I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree with the fact but I would personally give it to Holly Holm because she, not only for 25 minutes did she control Irene Aldana, she showed every part of the game that she's known for. But Durandame, if we're moving obviously to her, I was very submission attempts. They were from round 1 to round 3. Very, very impressed. And watching her, I've never seen her go for that many submission attempts ever.
Yeah, that was her second submission victory of her career.
Yeah.
The only one was her first fight in 2008 against, I have the name here, Vanessa Porto by armbar at Revolution Fight Club 2 in December 19, 2008. That was her first fight in MMA. But that's her second submission last night. And the thing about it was, so she has won by submission before. But the thing about it was, she just everything just felt different. It's hard to describe what it was, but just her, I don't know, mystique or just appearance or aura. Like she just seemed like a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was more to her than what was before. And I remember the Holly Holm fight where it was like Holly Holm should be able to squeak this one out, and she didn't. But I still thought Holly Holm won that fight. Just see the evolution of Jermaine Durandama's game now. She's more of a complete fighter.
I think Durandame is on that way of filling in those gaps that were exposed in the fight with Amanda Nunes. I think that with the introduction of more, with the utilization of, I think also stylistically, I think the matchup. The reason as to why is because Juliana Pena is such a very grapple-heavy game.
Right.
We've known Juliana Pena from the time she was on the Ultimate Fighter and she won, but Juliana Pena does being the smaller fighter, she usually comes in with a very wrestling-heavy game where she likes to do the ground and pound. She likes to get you in these wild positions and she likes to submit you if possible.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing. And I think styles bring out the best in people and can sometimes be the downfall. But I think this was a night where Jermaine Durandame proved that if it's grappling, I'm no slouch.
Yeah,
I think that's what it speaks for me. It's like, well, if we need to go here now, we can go here now. Can she do this with someone who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and has been doing it as long as someone like Amanda Nunes? Probably not. But you don't need to go head to head with someone who's a black belt, right? You need to be able to survive positions and make sure that you come out in either a dominant position or you get a submission. So that's what I'm looking forward to in Jermaine Durandame's next fight, which is obviously going to be, I think, Holly Holm. But if she can, she can use that jiu-jitsu and wrestling to kind of stuff those things, I think that'll even prove even more evolution of the game and get her back to fighting Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, Juliana Pena is only a blue belt, which is again nothing to write home about. Actually, that's impressive in its own right. I'm meant to say.
That is. Anyone's ever done jiu-jitsu knows that there's a big difference between white and blue belt. But with that being said, it's anyone who's done jiu-jitsu or is good at wrestling like Juliana Pena, it's not an easy task to be able to do that to her. Juliana Pena, because it's not easy, and Juliana Pena is such a tough fighter. She's really good. I mean, aside from losing to Valentina Shevchenko and Durandame, she was on a win streak. She was on a win streak at one point.
Yeah, and any other, I would think in any other time that this would be an advantage toward. If you would have told me a year ago you would have Juliana Pena versus Jermaine Durandame, I would have thought Juliana Pena would win the fight. Just because stylistic-wise, it would be a bad match for Jermaine Durandame. Now Jermaine Durandame is being able to fill in the holes in her game, and she's able to utilize grappling and utilize her strikes, and she just looks better at 135 now than she ever did. It's a whole different ball game now. Which again, that Holly Holm and Jermaine Durandame fight, is going to be so much more interesting and so much more impressive because now they both have evolved in their game.
The thing is, Juliana Pena has unfortunately been. I think she's been going on these long hiatuses and then coming back to fight, which may not help her or anything like that. But it is what it is. I think she's also a tough fighter. I don't think that anything takes away from her. But I think if I were to see this fight before, right after, if this fight happened, like you said, right after an Amanda Nunes fight, I'd be like, ooh, Juliana might know the victory to winning. Boom, if she's a little more consistent in terms of fighting. But de Randamie striking is just so damn good. It's so hard to count her out anytime. Yeah, that's my biggest thing.
I would love to see de Randamie versus Holly Holm next. I think that's the perfect fight to make. And honestly, I would love to see Irene Aldana versus Juliana Pena.
I mean, I think those ladies are both still young in their career, and that they should do that fight. I don't think it's an issue for them to do that fight, but who knows? Who knows if it actually comes to fruition, right? I would also like to see, I would like to see Nico Montano come back into that, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, no, I think she has some other outside issues going on.
Yeah.
That's preventing her from fighting. But I would love to see Nico Montano fight as well. I think she's somebody that hasn't had a fair shake in the UFC.
No, not yet. Just not yet.
No.
But yeah. Good.
No, I was gonna say, was there any other fights on this card or any other fighters that impressed you?
Now, last night in watching, I want to say there's a few people who impressed me. I'm going to give a shout out to Carlos Condit. And that's because Carlos Condit is one of my favorite fighters. When I first started watching UFC, way back when, I came back around the era when he fought George St. Pierre, when George St. Pierre came back to unify the title off of his ACL injury. And what a fight those two gentlemen put on, right? One of the very few people to actually drop George St. Pierre with, in a fight, and one of the only people to drop him with a head kick. A lot of people at that time didn't believe. A lot of people didn't believe that you could the duck or the feint to the head kick was a thing, and that proved his stand up was really strong. I think Carlos kind of started off a little slow, but he was able to start getting off in round 2 and 3, where he was able to hurt Court McGee and break his nose. That's one person I want to say did well. Casey Kenny. Casey Kenny looked phenomenal last night. I mean, this dude stood southpaw, put on a striking clinic against Haley Alatang. Sorry. And I thought he looked very impressive last night. And Tyrese, you can go ahead. I'm going to do 2, and I think I guess, and I think I know your 2, obviously.
Yeah. So just going back to Carlos Condit, former welterweight champion. I recognize him as a welterweight champion. He looked good last night. He looked like he was trying to get the ring rust off a little bit, but round 2, round 3, he looked like he was in his mode, and it's good to see him back after the long layoffs of health issues and being able to come back from injuries. I would love to see Carlos Condit fight a Matt Brown if he could do that, or fight maybe put him against the right guy. Carlos Condit is still Carlos Condit.
I think Carlos Condit, I think what makes Carlos Condit successful is his stand-up, right? When he gets against guys who push the pace like Neil Magny, he lost to recently, or when you get a guy like what's his name? He just moved up to lightweight and to welterweight, and he's doing really well. He's like number 7 or 8. His submission game is really well. Call him Maverick.
Oh, Michael Chiesa.
When he fought Chiesa submitted him as well. I think when it comes to people who push the pace against him with grapplers, those tend to be his harder fights. I think with the time off, who knows if he's able to fill that hole in. I would love to see him against a guy like a grappler right now to showcase what he's been able to do like that. And if that, I don't know if he gets a ranked opponent necessarily, but with name value alone, he possibly could. With name value alone, I'm sure a lot of people from 10 to 15 would love to be like, yeah, let's fight Carlos Condit. Let's do it. I want to sign up for Carlos Condit right now. So I would love to see who he fights next. And then for Court McGee, hey man, I don't know. I felt bad about the broken nose.
Yeah, he's got to take time to heal. But I still think Court McGee is a really, really good fighter. He on any given night he can give it to somebody he's fighting against. For Court McGee, if he could get healthy, maybe Sean Brady, somebody that me and you've been talking about, is on the cusp of fighting somebody, a contender.
He lost to Sean Brady already.
He did, right?
Yeah, he lost to Sean Brady already.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But with Carlos Condit, maybe a Jeff Neal. That could be an interesting fight for Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal, I think Jeff Neal needs that like big win over somebody like a Carlos Condit, like a name like that to like, okay, I've been Carlos Condit, that's on my record. Now these other guys can't duck me. Sometimes having that name over somebody on your record can get you to get these other fights that people are maybe not wanting to fight you or ducking you or how we want to see it.
Agreed. Agreed.
A Robbie Lawler fight would have been great, but he's fighting Mike Perry, which I don't know. I don't know. If Robbie Lawler loses that fight, I think it's time
to think about stopping.
Yep.
I agree.
My other fighter on this card is Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips, to me, is somebody I am definitely looking at in 2021. He's really, really good. He puts it well together. He's able to beat what's his name? Cameron Ellis.
Yeah.
Cameron Ellis. Be able to get the body lock, take him down, and just ground and pound with elbows and get the W. He also beat Gabriel Silva earlier this year, the brother of Eric Silva, right?
Yep.
And he looks so impressive. His only loss is a split decision loss, which means it could have gone either way. So I'm very interested to see where he goes from here. I think he's somebody to look out for in 2021.
I'll say this: Kyler Phillips impressed me last night, not only with his stand-up but his grapple. He's just getting so much better.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think he's obviously training and getting better, but we're not in each of his fights, or at least in his last 2 fights, we're just seeing parts of his game. We're not seeing him having to dig deep or anything like that. So I'm also interested in seeing that, because I think if at the end of the day, when he has to dig deep, he will. I think he is someone who has, if put in that position where he has his back against the wall and he has to dig deep, he will find a way to do it.
Right.
I truly believe that. So I think he is someone to look out for in the next 2 years in UFC, in the bantamweight division.
Yeah, and if I'm the UFC, I'm investing. I'm looking into, okay, let's match him against some more other people and let's see how he does. And if he continues to put on this type of performance, I think he's somebody that, okay, we could look at as maybe the future of this bantamweight division. He's only 25 years old, so if he goes to the featherweight, but I'm looking at him as somebody we could push down the line.
Yeah, I mean, he's a name. He's a very big. He's gonna be a big name, and it's because he's gonna put together these impressive finishes. That's the biggest thing. He's putting together impressive stoppages, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not one KO in these guys, right? Which is, everyone loves to see that one punch knockout or that one head kick knockout, which is phenomenal because of technique. But when you have someone who is dominant in all facets of the fight, and then it's like, all right, now I'm turning it up. It's like, whoa. Like, there's another level beyond what you're showing, and what you're showing is already great. Right. So you're going, like, now you're telling us, oh, I'm just playing right now. So it's like, wait, what? So that's, I think he's someone who has his I guess his ceiling. He has no ceiling as of right now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he progresses in the UFC. Like, he's somebody I'm definitely looking out for.
You know who also impressed me last night? I thought Luigi Vedramini at lightweight had a really impressive head kick over Justin Ayari. I thought that was a really good stoppage. And Josh Culibao versus Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain has been a 145er. He's been having success after dropping back from lightweight. He beat Dooho Choi. I don't know if I feel like you remember that fight with Dooho Choi. That was when Dooho Choi had the same kind of game plan: push forward, stand, trade. Charles Jourdain did it really good, but Culibao had he was someone who had gotten to UFC by taking a short-notice fight against Jalen Turner at lightweight, and he didn't do too well because it's obviously that Jalen Turner was significantly bigger than him and also at the higher weight. But at this weight class, he was able to knock Jourdain down and hurt him at a lot. So I was pretty impressed by what Culibao was able to do. I don't know if he'll eventually be champion, but I think he's a talent who can bring a fight, and he'll surprise a lot of people, in my opinion.
I agree. So let me ask you this, and this was a little bit hard to grade because there's aspects of this that I did not like. Like the 10:30 time for the main card.
So late.
But which is interesting because Top Rank was doing their boxing fight on ESPN Plus or ESPN as well, which I'm going to go back to. I heard it was really, really good. But we've seen time before where you could kind of run simultaneously at the same time. So I didn't really understand the time at 10:30. But what's your grade for this fight? What is for this card?
It's really hard because both fighters do really well, in my opinion. I think the fighters obviously fight, and it is what it is. But if I'm giving this card, I don't think it gets higher. Generously, I don't think it gets higher than a B.
Okay.
I don't think it gets higher than a B. I don't think it deserves lower than a B because I think everyone
Delivered.
showed
It
out.
delivered. It delivered.
Yeah, I think with the heavyweight fight, Jorgen De Castro versus Felipe, I think that fight a lot of people don't want to call it, but these are two heavyweights who have the hand speed of middleweights, in my opinion. These are two
Yeah.
heavyweights who have the hand speed of middleweights, and they didn't, they were knocking each other back and forth for a good amount of time. But I give this card a B. Give this a B. You?
You know what? I think I'm gonna go with you. I think I'm gonna go with B. I think every fight.
You're gonna what? You're gonna go with what?
I'm gonna agree. Sometimes we can agree on some things. We can agree sometimes. It's rare. It's rare,
Tyrese,
but I agree with you.
just do me a favor. Check your
What?
temperature. Check your temperature. And tell me if it's higher than 97.1 or like 98.7. Just let me know. I need to know now so that way I can call you and get you to the ER or something like that because
Listen,
that doesn't happen.
I'm in a good mood, man. What can I say? This fight again. I watched it retroactively, so I didn't watch it necessarily live. But the 10:30 time kind of threw me off and kind of turned me off a little bit.
Late,
but I
late.
want to see Holly Holm.
Yeah.
But
Holly Holm.
Yeah, she's a legend.
Yeah.
But I thought you know what? Every fight delivered. There's fighters on this card that showed that there's somebody to look out for. Like names you mentioned, Kyler Phillips to me. What's his name? That fought in the first fight, Luigi.
Dramini.
Yes, him. Carlos Condit coming back for his return fight over Court McGee. I thought that was a good win. It could set something for him.
Yeah.
Norsardin Imanov. Hope I'm saying that name right. I apologize if I'm not.
Norsardin Imanov. Yeah, I think Norsardin Imavov.
Imavov. Sorry.
Imavov.
He had a good performance against Jordan Williams.
Also, Jordan Williams is pretty impressive too.
Yeah, I mean, there are aspects of this card that were really, really good. I think the only thing was the 10:30 time and everything like that. But overall, I thought it was a solid card.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so we're in agreement for a B plus or a B.
We'll go B.
We'll go B. Next week we have Corey Sandhagen versus Marlon Moraes. I think that one should deliver. I cannot wait for that one to see where Marlon Moraes stands, where Corey Sandhagen stands after that loss against Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah,
so that's gonna be interesting.
Also, get Aljamain Sterling the title fight. What?
Let me ask you this: if Marlon Moraes goes out there and just destroys Corey Sandhagen, or does Marlon Moraes get the next title shot over Aljamain?
If he beats him in the first round, yes. If he doesn't beat him in the first round, no. We know Marlon is magic in the first round. Generally, if Marlon could keep that magic up for the next 4 rounds after that, I think we can get him. Maybe we can make the argument that he could fight Aljamain Sterling again. But if he doesn't finish Corey Sandhagen the way that Aljamain Sterling finished him in the first round, then I honestly don't see UFC investing in a rematch.
This is gonna be interesting to see. I honestly, is there even? I don't even know if there's an official.
No, UFC's. I think they're probably waiting for this fight to happen to see what goes on. In my opinion, I think that's probably what's happening.
Yeah, they didn't even name an official challenger for Peter Yan yet, which is interesting. But we'll see. We'll see next week, man. 11:30, we'll do the recap show for UFC Fight Island 5, Marlon Moraes versus Corey Sandhagen.
Yes, sir.
Until then, guys, have a nice day. If you're watching us later on VOD. We appreciate you. We love you guys, and
stay safe.
11:30. Next time we're gonna do a live show. Join us. Be with us. If you like what you see, please subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell us what you think of the show.
Everybody, take care. Have a blessed Sunday.
Signing off. My name is Tyree Simon.
Ledge Jones.
This has been MMA Renegade, episode 31. Have a nice day, guys.